Hello and welcome back to my humble show. I'm hoping that this will be a short video. I do have a few thoughts to share with you, and you can let me know what you think down in the comments below. Feel free to disagree with me. I'll appreciate any feedback you might have to offer. Stick around and find out what I have to offer. Like, subscribe, and enjoy the ride. Let's talk about Nancy Mace. I have put together a thread of her, and it starts like this. Nancy Mace accosted. Suspect arrested. So all of that and then some happened in the last 24 hours. Hashtag hold the line. That's what she has been posting repeatedly, and I agree with it. But feel free to disagree with us, of course. A screenshot of two of her posts on X. First one, yes, I was physically accosted tonight. More to come. Hashtag hold the line. Shortly after, she added, I was physically accosted at the Capitol tonight by a pro-trans man. One new brace for my wrist and some ice for my arm, and it'll heal just fine. The Capitol Police arrested the guy. Your trans violence and threats on my life will only make me double down. FAFO. Flip around and find out, in other words. Hashtag hold the line. All right, so you get the drift. You get the gist of it. Scrolling on down. Suspect equals James McIntyre, 33 of Illinois, now charged with assaulting a government official. And if there are following updates on it all, which I imagine there will be, I will do my best to circle back on all of this and keep you informed as well as myself. It's a difficult task for me to keep up with everything that's going on, but I do my best. You can do the rest. Fill me in on anything I may have missed. I've linked an article here, but here are a couple of screenshots from it. It being an article from NBC News. Police arrest suspect accused of assaulting Nancy Mace on Capitol grounds. And my apologies for my face blocking it. There you go. The suspect, identified as James McIntyre, 33 of Illinois, faces a charge of assaulting a government official. All right, so the next screenshot. U.S. Capitol Police said Tuesday that they arrested a person accused of assaulting Representative Nancy Mace, Republican from South Carolina, of course. Highlighted, as I've already read, the suspect, identified as James McIntyre, 33 of Illinois, faces a charge of assaulting a government official. Yada, 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 bing, bang, boom. Mace said Tuesday night on X that she was physically accosted at the Capitol tonight by someone who she said was a defender of transgender rights, which she has been speaking out against, or I should say that she has been speaking out against the prospect of biological males entering the female spaces in the Capitol, on the Capitol grounds. She has been pushing for legislation to prevent one particular biological male who has recently been elected to Congress as the so-called first transgender individual ever to make it to that part of D.C., if you know what I mean. Should I pull up the actual article here from NBC News? I don't really want to go through it all. I'm trying to speed through this. It is a short article, though, so let me see if there's anything that I might have missed. The quote from her on her injury. Reached for comment, Capitol Police did not provide details about the suspect and did not respond to questions about whether or not the suspect was an advocate of transgender rights. I imagine the suspect was, though, considering who has been going after Nancy Mace as of late. In a statement detailing the incident, police said that a House member's office had reported an incident in the Rayburn House office building and that officers had tracked down the suspect. And if the investigation shows security camera footage or something, I hope that it makes its way out into the public, because I would like to see what exactly happened. McIntyre was screened before entering the building, which was open to the public at the time of the incident. The statement said, last month, Mace introduced a measure to bar lawmakers and House employees from using single-sex facilities other than those corresponding to their biological sex. A quote-unquote there. She said she was responding to Sarah McBride's being elected the first openly transgender member of Congress in November. As I already referred to, last week protesters opposed to Mace's measure staged a protest outside a House office building. I have more on Sarah McBride momentarily, but one thing at a time. Scrolling on down here, I do indeed have some screenshots from a separate NBC News article, this one about the aforementioned Sarah McBride, biological female who now identifies as a woman, or a trans woman, as they say. And as you can see on his shirt, Sarah McBride, Democrat for Congress. 'Tis the campaign season, right? Or at least it was. Sarah McBride becomes the first out transgender person ever elected to Congress. McBride, a Democrat who served 2 terms as a state senator, wins Delaware's only House seat, NBC News projects. So this is a recent article, not as recent as the previous one, obviously. Here is a portion of it, and I don't think I'm going to read all of this actual article. I'll stick with the screenshot here. Yeah, so this is not my words. These are not my words. I'm reading. So my apologies for the confusing terminology. The politically correct, gendered terminology. McBride is no stranger to making history, they say. She initially made headlines in April 2012 when she came out as trans in American University's student newspaper at the end of her term as the student body president. The same year, she became the first out trans woman to work in the White House when she interned with the Obama administration. Go figure. According to her 2018 memoir, Tomorrow Will Be Different. Love, Loss, and the Fight for Trans Equality. And if this was written today, it might be referred to as equity, since that's in and equality is out. Then, in 2016, she became the first trans person to speak at a major political convention when she gave a speech at the Democratic National Convention. In 2020, she was elected to represent Delaware's 1st Senate District, which includes Claymont, Bellefonte, and parts of Edgemoor and Wilmington, becoming the country's first openly trans state senator. McBride became interested in politics from a young age. By the time she was 18, she had volunteered or worked on at least 3 political campaigns, including Beau Biden's 2006 campaign for Attorney General and his 2010 re-election campaign. Nearly a decade later, Joe Biden wrote the foreword to her memoir. Again, it pains me to read preferred pronouns but that's just how it's written. And now I'm going to share my own individual thoughts. I will pull up this article just so you can see it in its full extent, though I will not be reading it. This is where I took those screenshots from. Back to the thread and my personal thoughts. To each their own, by the way. But these are mine, my own thoughts, and I'm sharing them with you because sharing is caring. On a related note, Sarah McBride is a man. I repeat, a man, in case you were wondering. I mean, this, see screenshots, as you already have, is only even considered making history because it's about a man who's claiming to be a woman. If he were simply a woman, the prefix trans would be null and void, and the theoretical she would be no different than any other woman, meaning no history would be made. To celebrate him for doing that which an actual woman wouldn't be celebrated for is to acknowledge that he isn't an actual woman. In other words, the entire concept of transgenderism is self-contradicting and therefore scientifically self-disqualifying. Of course, modern woke ideologues and pro-trans activists couldn't care less about the terms and conditions of biological reality. So, like Nancy Mace or not, she is correct to oppose the entrance of the literal opposite sex into purposefully and definitionally female spaces. They're called female spaces for a reason. If you say Sarah McBride is a female woman, you're an idiot. If you say Sarah McBride is a male woman, you're still an idiot. If you say Sarah McBride is a male man who deserves to be treated as though he's a woman, you're obviously still an idiot, and I'd love to ask you what exactly a woman even is. Throwing the term trans in as an all-encompassing workaround is merely an incoherent manipulation of both language and logic. That being said, #hold the line. And don't attack Nancy Mace for being right, as she is in this case. Now, with all of the above being said, in defense of Nancy Mace, it's still fair to point out that she herself has historically been a bit of an idiot. Indeed, she has been known to construct speed bumps along her own path to victory, aka the protection of actual women. I'm just keeping it real here. #hold the line. So, 4 more screenshots for you. All of her own posts, or shall I say tweets, from years past. Well, 3 from years past. 1 more recent, just from last year, where she has turned things around just a little bit in her own ideological approach to LGBTQ rights, as she refers to them here in this tweet from 2021, March 2, 2021. She said, "I strongly support LGBTQ rights. No one should be discriminated against. Religious liberty, gay rights, and transgender equality can all coexist. I'm also a constitutionalist. We have to ensure anti-discrimination laws don't violate religious freedom." So you might say she's just trying to be balanced there. Okay, fine. But we see what that led to, right? Give an inch, a mile is taken. Don't give up reality. Not even a little bit. That's something you don't want to compromise on. All right, so the next screenshot here, the next post, the next tweet, she said on March 4, 2021, just 2 days after the previous post, she said, LGBTQ rights and religious liberty are not mutually exclusive. The Fairness for All Act protects both. I'm working hard to reach across the aisle and work together to get things done. And here she has a video, which I can't play because this is a screenshot, but right there on the front of it, right there at the beginning of it, a pride flag. And we know that pride goes not only before a fall, but before destruction. So you might not want to lead with that. Just saying. And one more. Check this one out. This one from June 4, 2021. Shortly after those other two. Nancy Mace herself said, the pandemic kept all of us from fully celebrating Pride here in the low country of 2020. But hopefully, as we finally begin to open back up, we can all come together to celebrate the challenges our LGBTQ plus has overcome and the bright future ahead. Hashtag Pride Month. Hashtag Pride 2021. And that's on her official Representative Nancy Mace account. She's outright celebrating Pride. So if the other two weren't convincing enough to you that she has been a little bit flip-floppy on this issue, here you have it. Her outright celebrating Pride Month. And calling for others to do the same. Yeah. Now, or at least in 2023, when she began to change her tune, she said, the left continues its war on women. At what point will the madness end? First they come after us in sports, and now they are attempting to erase our very existence. So obviously she has been a very loud voice, a very strong voice, sure, in speaking out on behalf of actual women in women's sports who have been, in some cases, replaced by biological males who have taken some titles away from them. And just the link to this article, which she has shared or had shared at the time from Fox News, I can see it says, Johns Hopkins defines women as non-men in LGBTQ glossary, drawing misogyny accusations. So it looks like they were attempting to be not politically correct, but scientifically and biologically correct. Though the terminology is a little bit simplified there. And they were blasted and lambasted for it. Yeah. So, I don't know what Johns Hopkins was actually going for there, but they were criticized. But it's not about that article. It's about Nancy Mace. That's what I'm talking about. And yeah, so you see the switch there from celebrating Pride here in Low Country in 2020. Hopefully, as we finally begin to open back up, we can all come together and celebrate the challenges our LGBT, as in transgender, Q plus, she even included the plus in there, has overcome. The bright future ahead. Oh, wait, what was the bright future ahead? Haha! Biological males in women's sports, in women's spaces, including the bathrooms, which she is now advocating for keeping biological males out of. So, she took one for the wrong team there. But I'm glad she has flipped and flopped her way to where she currently stands. And I would add this. She, as she has said many times, is a survivor of RAPE. Spelling it out for you there, in case YouTube doesn't like it. Though it might not like some of the other things I've said in this show. But yeah. So I'm not going to criticize her in that sense at all. What would I be criticizing her for? Sometimes people use their personal experiences, even exaggerate their personal experiences. Not saying that's what she's doing. To make a more compelling point. Whether she is or isn't doing that. And I'm just saying, she's a politician. And considering her previous take on the situation, it does make me question just a little bit some of her sincerity or potential lack thereof when it comes to this issue. Now that she is very vehemently speaking out against what is going on. At the end of the day, I 100% support the Protecting Women's Private Spaces Act, even if I feel that Nancy Mace is somewhat silly. Again, hashtag hold that line. Yeah, so I posted a screenshot from her official congressional website. A press release. The title of it is Congresswoman Nancy Mace announces Protecting Women's Private Spaces Act. This is as of November 20, 2024. And I could go ahead and read this so we can be clear on where she stands now, since she has been a bit unclear on some things in the past. After receiving overwhelming support. Let me read that one more time. After receiving overwhelming support from the American people and enduring the predictable performative outrage from the radical left, whom she was simping for a couple of years ago, Congresswoman Nancy Mace is taking further action to protect women. Today she announced another new bill, the Protecting Women's Private Spaces Act, to ban biological men, including the one who just made his way into Congress. That process is still playing out, of course. Yeah. Act to ban biological men from using women's private protected facilities such as bathrooms and locker rooms, all on federal property. Sorry, I got distracted halfway through that sentence. The radical left would rather call me an extremist than admit they are wrong. The radical left says I'm a threat. You better believe it, and I will shamelessly call you out for putting women and girls in harm's way. Women fought for these spaces, and I will not let them be erased to score political points. With a small but loud activist class, said Representative Nancy Mace, while the woke mob predictably manufactures outrage, the vast majority of Americans recognize the importance of protecting women and women's rights and privacy. Congresswoman Mace remains undeterred by the noise, focusing instead on the voices of women who demand common sense solutions to this pressing issue. Sorry, this text is tiny. It's throwing me off a bit as well. If I enlarge it, it will be hidden from you, but that's okay. At least I can see it. Women and girls shouldn't have to give up their safety or privacy just because the left wants to win points with their activist base, Mace continued. This isn't controversial. It's common sense. I'm going to continue defending women and girls from these harmful, out-of-touch, and straight-up weird policies. Weird indeed. The vast majority of Americans accept the biology and the biological fact that men cannot be women and should not be allowed to invade women's private spaces. The left's dangerous delusions and willingness to ignore reality have put countless women in harm's way and created a dire need for the Protecting Women's Private Spaces Act. Designated sex-specific spaces or facilities on federal property is the first step to recognizing and restoring truth in the country. While it's unfortunate that legislation to accurately define sex and protect women's spaces is necessary, Heritage Action applauds Representative Mace for taking up this fight to defend safety, science, and common sense. And that's from Heritage Action, a statement from them. Though, once again, I'll point out that this quote, though it was not from Nancy Mace herself, referred to the fact that biological men cannot be women. Though Nancy Mace herself was previously celebrating the idea of biological men identifying as women. Remember the T? Remember the plus sign that she put in there in her gender alphabet? So we are nearing the end. And this final final tweet, this final post of mine has nothing to do with this actual topic per se. It's just something that I said in response to someone else just recently. It goes right along with the topic despite not technically being about it. All right. Ignore that and just focus on this. I said, I can't reiterate enough just how symbolic it is that the L, G, and B are literally the first three letters of the alphabet community and lead directly to the T. From God is love, to love is God, to love is love. This is the self-defining trajectory of love in an increasingly godless society. Yeah. So there's that. All of this and then some. I gotta run. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Once again, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Tried to go into as much detail as possible in a short amount of time, but I'm almost to 30 minutes. So peace.